I'm Jenna Bourne, and I'm an investigative reporter at 10 Tampa Bay. If you're new here, welcome to our deep dive into issues that matter to you. Would you buy cookies that cost $64 a dozen? What about bagels for $58 a dozen? Coffee for 96 bucks a gallon? Hate to break it to you, but you already did. Those are all prices Space Florida paid with your tax dollars. You also paid for their executives to fly internationally in first and business class, even though state law requires they use the most economical means of travel. Let's see what's brewing. Look, we don't want to scare you. We want to empower you. So here's how you can look up any car for recalls, whether you're thinking about buying it or you've been driving it for years. Either look in the ad online or on the dashboard in front of your steering wheel, right here where it meets your windshield. Should people feel safe with Canine Bingo back out on the streets?
Absolutely, because Deputy Namundo got his act together. Don't make it more than what it is. You know?
Well, it seems to me that the problem wasn't just that the lead wasn't on the dog also wouldn't release the bite.
And again, the dog is not a robot. The dog is not mechanical. The dog is a living being. The dogs don't always listen. They listen the majority of the time, and we wouldn't put them out there.
What would you say to somebody who hears that and thinks, well, if you know the dogs sometimes don't let go, is it worth that risk?
Yeah, don't run from the police. If you're not running, remember
This guy wasn't running.
But this is an anomaly. This is a one-off. You're making this be like the situation. When's the last time that this happened? This doesn't happen that often.
It happens more often than you might think. Is there a reason we haven't been able to get any answers?
This is a work group meeting, a task force meeting, and so we're not taking questions at this time.
Well, when are you taking questions? Because we've been emailing you and calling you with questions for weeks. When can we expect to hear back?
We'll take a look at your questions. Thank you.
Okay, let's try another person I've been reaching out to. Cindy Huffman, the liaison between the Department of Ed and the task force. The new bylaws
Our press office.
I've been trying and they haven't been responding to me either.
Dr. Ani, I have to refer you to that.
I'm sorry?
I need to refer you to Dr. Ani.
Okay, let's try Dr. Ani.
If you could provide them to the communications office.
I certainly have been for weeks.
Yes, and we'll be happy to follow up.
They didn't.
Can I get me right after would be better.
Right after?
Yeah.
Are you still going to be around?
Yeah, I'll be around.
After the news conference wrapped, Corcoran walked out a side door.
He's walking out. Mr. Corcoran, you said you'd answer a couple questions for me? Mr. Corcoran, you're not going to answer our questions?
We're in South St. Pete in the Tropical Shores neighborhood, and we were actually here when the couple who lives here got home. They said that they saw this damage to their home for the first time on 10tampabay.com when we were out here last night. Take a look at this. Hey, before we even get started here, we want to give you a content warning. We're going to be talking about accusations of childhood sexual abuse. Some of it is graphic, so if that is not something you're okay with hearing about right now, this is your heads up.
I want the public to know that he 100% touched me.
A youth program volunteer at a Tampa mosque made headlines when he was arrested last year, accused of molesting boys.
He sells this holy character like you've never seen before.
We're giving some goodie bags for the kids, boys and girls.
This is awesome.
He sells it. He sells it.
We kept digging over the past 10 months, and we've uncovered there's a lot more to this story. Mr. Goname, what do you have to say to the families? We found leadership at this mosque was told in 2017 and then again in 2020 about accusations that Ehab Goname had inappropriate contact with boys in another state.
It's like flag after red flag after red flag.
But the mosque let him keep volunteering with kids anyway.
We have nothing to hide.
7 boys have now come forward to police saying Ehab Goname molested them.
I have given him 11 years. You know, zip, no one's heard of me. I haven't said anything.
Until now. Let's see what's brewing. I'm Jenna Bourne, and I'm an investigative reporter at 10 Tampa Bay. If you're new here, welcome to our deep dive into issues that matter to you. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss an episode.
Check this out. Yeah. Turn over. You here? Turn around for me. What's going on? Turn around. Hands behind your back.
What's going on?
You're under arrest.
Before officers walked Ehab Goname through the airport in handcuffs,
I want to let you know that you have the right to remain silent.
he was a volunteer with the youth program at the Islamic Society of the Tampa Bay area. also known as Istaba.
Thanks to Ihab for doing such an incredible job. I mean, he actually take care of a lot of these kids down here, take them all over.
In this video, Ghonaim is sitting with mosque leadership as they all introduce themselves to a visiting political candidate.
My name is Ihab, business owner and also youth program director in volunteer here in the mosque.
Thank you for bringing us in.
Yes, sir.
These are key people.
In early 2021, boys told police Ghonaim sexually abused them during sleepovers at his home in this Pinellas Park neighborhood and during overnight trips out of town for events like Islamic youth conventions. Police records show those boys reported Ghonaim would give them pills, get into bed with them, and touch them inappropriately while he thought they were asleep. One of those boys agreed to let Pinellas Park police record this phone call between him and Ghonaim.
But when I would sleep, I'd wake up, right, and then, my private area, my penis, it'd be like, it'll get out of my boxes, and it would be wet. You know what I mean? And I was sleeping, I was like, what the heck is going on? And you would be next to me. So that's why I would feel very weird. And it happened multiple times. And in the morning, I'd wake up, and I'd be like, well, what the heck is going on? I would always think twice, what the heck happened? Is that I was sleeping? You know what I'm saying?
Come on, man. I would never harm you or never harm anybody. And what's it called? If you, in your heart, if you believe it, that's you.
I mean, I know it happened because it happened multiple times. And as I said, since I got older, then I started getting more confident, you know what I mean?
When you heard that all of these other boys have similar stories, pills, waiting until they go to
It's the exact same story.
After 11 years, Noor El Sayed says he's done staying silent.
Ihab Ghonaim is my uncle. He was the fun uncle. I think it was the first time I ever had $50 cash in my hand. He'd give us all cash, we'd all go to Treasure Island, have an insane amount of fun, sleep together at night, he was my best friend. And I remember when he'd leave, I would cry.
When El Sayed was 14, he says Ghonaim abruptly left his job in New Jersey and moved in with his family in St. Petersburg.
Did he ever talk about why he left New Jersey?
He goes, I'm coming to live with you guys. I want to be around the family and my brother. It was just very abrupt, and it just felt forced. He would give me these sleeping pills, and I would have crazy dreams, but I specifically remember him sneaking into my bed and jerking me off. And then in the morning, I'm 14. That's he stole my purity.
Do you know any of the other boys who have come forward?
No. The moment I heard what happened, I think selfishly right away, I felt a form of relief because you almost feel like you're vindicated. Oh, I told you this happened. But then the reality sets in that there's young men struggling.
El Sayed's accusations are in police records, but Ghonaim hasn't been charged with molesting him. Ghonaim's arrest, which we showed you earlier, was connected to 3 criminal charges of unlawful sexual activity with a minor and 1 molestation charge. And there's a reason those are the only charges. A Pinellas Park police spokesperson tells me his agency can only recommend charges for the accusations that happened during sleepovers at his home in this Pinellas Park neighborhood. That spokesperson says other agencies are investigating. We showed up to Ghonaim's pretrial hearing in April to try to get his side of the story.
Mr. Ghonaim, what do you have to say to the families? Mr. Ghonaim, there's nothing you want to say to these boys?
Then we came back to this courthouse last week to give him another opportunity to share his side. After he saw us in the courtroom, he bolted into a bathroom, changed out of his suit and into different clothes, a different mask, sunglasses, and a hat.
Mr. Ghonaim, why did you change clothes in the bathroom? Sir, there's nothing that you have to say about these accusations? Sir, your own nephew says that you molested him. Do you have anything to say about that? Sir, did you molest your nephew? Sir, why do all the boys have the same story?
Okay, so what did leadership here at the Islamic Society of the Tampa Bay area know, and when did they know it? In August 2021, after Ghonaim's arrest, Istaba administrator Muhammad Akkad, also known at the mosque as Abu Omar, told us this.
We had absolutely no indications that he has something else going on. But once we even got alerted that something might have happened, we took the measures needed to protect the kids, to protect the community.
But 2021 wasn't the first time that Akkad heard reports accusing Ghonaim of inappropriate contact with kids.
That blows my mind. That blows my mind.
In the recording you're about to hear from 4 months after Ghonaim's arrest, Akkad told Pinellas Park Police a former employee here at Istaba came to him in 2017 with this.
They said, he's been accused of having improper contacts with kids in New Jersey.
Akkad told police during that same recorded interview that he investigated the New Jersey accusations himself, reaching out to people in the Muslim community who knew Ghonaim.
So I spoke with the young boy, and he said, listen, my friend told me that he has a cousin, that his cousin's friend was in the shower, and he had walked in the shower with him.
A source at Istaba gave us 7 letters of recommendation dated in 2017 from people who say they knew Ghonaim when he worked with youth in New Jersey, mostly at the Islamic Society of Monmouth County.
They said he was very instrumental in keeping the kids off drugs, the streets, all of that. His background check came clean.
What Akkad didn't tell police during that interview is that the same former employee who came to him in 2017 came to him again in 2020. A source at the mosque sent us emails that point to more reports of accusations in New Jersey. Both the Monmouth County Sheriff's Office and the Islamic Society of Monmouth County tell us no one has reported Ghonaim molested them. Akkad told police he didn't trust the former employee who repeatedly raised the concerns, and since he wasn't able to prove the accusations were true, the mosque allowed Ghonaim to keep volunteering with the youth program.
But since then, we restricted Ihab's movement, even though we had no proof. We've never had a sleepover activities.
Okay, so about that. Akkad told police the mosque never authorized Ghonaim to do overnight trips or sleepovers, but he also told them that he and the 2 religious leaders here at the mosque, the imams, knew it was happening.
Both imams send their kids with Ihab on trips. Me, myself, I sent my kid with him. He went with my son all the way to Miami.
In that recording you just heard, Akkad also told police a group of adults came to him with accusations from several boys associated with the mosque in 2021. But Akkad says he waited another 2 weeks before cutting ties with Ghonaim.
2 weeks pass by and gets you on the phone with me, with a couple of other administrators. And once I corroborate that there is an ongoing investigation, at that point you had told Ihab he was no longer welcome as long as the investigation was active.
Absolutely.
While we were outside recording video of Istaba for this story, Muhammad Akkad walked up to us.
If there were accusations back in 2017, even if you looked into that, couldn't find evidence, don't you think that there was some kind of responsibility to keep this man away from children just in case?
The accusation was made by somebody who this man was supposed to replace, so he had a motive. There's no story. If you want a story, we'll sit down and talk about it.
So we're pulling up for our interview with Muhammad Akkad. Akkad agreed to a sit-down interview a few weeks later. Yep, we just pulled up. Okay, I will see you soon. But he backed out after we showed up. Istaba, its 2 imams, and Ghonaim are all named in a civil lawsuit brought by one of the boys. The mosque and its leadership deny wrongdoing.
Will you testify against your uncle?
Yes, absolutely. I don't want him to have freedom. He doesn't deserve it.
Call 911. We're the police, man. You're okay.
Minutes later, Anthony Pattinson was dead.
Can you feel the pulse? I can't.
Before we go any further, I want to give you a content warning. You're going to see police using force on people who are struggling with their mental health or drug use. If that is something you are not in the mindset for right now, this is your heads up.
Sir! No! No, please! Please! No! No! No!
What you're watching are encounters with law enforcement that are about to turn deadly.
Take it!
Medical examiners blamed these deaths on something called excited delirium. Never heard of it? It's basically a theory that sometimes people can get so amped up, so agitated that they just die.
He was fighting this whole time, just stopped.
But critics call the term a cover-up because it mostly pops up when police restrain someone or use force. We found Florida medical examiners blamed 78 deaths on excited delirium since 2010. These are some of their faces. Most of these people died after police used force, restrained them, or both.
It's probably excited delirium.
This year, the National Association of Medical Examiners turned its back on excited delirium as a cause of death. So what happens when you find out your loved one's death may not match the government's official explanation?
I'm still in question about everything that happened.
Let's see what's brewing. I'm Jenna Bourne, and I'm an investigative reporter at 10 Tampa Bay. If you're new here, welcome to our deep dive into issues that matter to you.
911, what is your emergency?
Well, my husband woke up screaming. I don't know. I don't think he knows what's going on.
He was going crazy. I mean, I really have no other way to explain it.
These are the things they left behind. Flip-flops, 2 champagne glasses surrounded by rose petals, peppermints in a suit pocket.
Apparently that's his family.
Then there are the people they left behind. Like the daughter Gregory Edwards never got to meet. His wife was pregnant when he died.
Mama!
And Anthony Pattinson's mother.
Is that your son?
Who rushed toward the flashing blue lights after deputies handcuffed her son and bent him over the hood of a car.
Calm down, it's Mom. Calm down.
And then there are the questions they left behind.
There was never any answers, and nobody was ever made accountable for what happened. And I can't get over that. This is my son, Richard. My heart breaks my heart. Richard was handsome. That's Richard.
Is it hard to look back at these photos now?
Oh my God, it is. I just can't fathom him being gone. I just can't get over it. I really can't.
He's going towards the woods, but he's still not stopping.
Hernando County Sheriff's Office records say a man reported Richard Saucier jumped on his car and tried to punch him, but missed.
He stripped off all his clothes, and he was running down 19.
A sheriff's office report says a deputy fired their taser 5 times for 5 seconds each.
Give us your hands, that's all we need. Fighting and we're going to tase you again. Stop.
Deputies reported Saucier was unresponsive by the time paramedics showed up.
After he was tased and handcuffed, his pulse was pounding at 150.
The taser prongs were in his chest.
I did make a phone call to the police station to talk to the sheriff. Nobody ever called me back. And I had a lot of questions about why he was tased so many times.
The Hernando County Sheriff's Office wouldn't meet us for an interview. Saucier's autopsy report says combined drug toxicity played a role, but his cause of death was excited delirium syndrome. When was the first time you heard the term excited delirium?
Never, until I talked to you.
What did police tell you he died of?
Drugs. I think it's a cover-up for the police department.
So what is excited delirium? That's a complicated question, since there's disagreement about whether it's even a real thing. But it's been characterized over the years as a sudden state that can involve agitation, confusion, paranoia, hyperactivity, hallucinations, high body temperature, sweating, and incoherent shouting.
Trying to put voodoo on me, man.
It's sometimes reported in people who use stimulant drugs like coke or meth, sometimes in people with mental health problems.
It's PTSD.
Okay.
And I was going to take it to the VA tomorrow.
Critics say there's not enough evidence it can kill people, and it's been used to explain away deaths involving law enforcement.
The phrase excited delirium and the excited delirium syndrome had become more and more of a catch-all for many circumstances that were difficult to explain, we need a better understanding.
Every major medical organization has now turned its back on excited delirium, but police are still being trained that it's real and they need to be ready for it.
He was going crazy, like excited delirium.
Excited delirium, he's sweating profusely, calling for Jesus, so.
Would you say that this is a overdose type reaction or some type of medical event?
I would say that it appears to possibly be related to excited delirium due to an unknown cause.
Okay, awesome.
This year, the National Association of Medical Examiners released a statement saying it no longer endorses excited delirium as a cause of death. So what does that mean for people who already have it on their autopsy reports? We made our own database through hundreds of public records requests to medical examiners and law enforcement. We found that Florida medical examiners have identified excited delirium as the official cause of death or contributing factor for 78 people since 2010. At least 81% of those people died after law enforcement use of force, restraint, or both. And at least 32% were shocked with an electric weapon like a taser before they died. Okay, so now that the main organization of medical examiners has turned its back on excited delirium, are we going to stop seeing it on autopsy reports? And is anyone going to review their past cases? We reached out to every medical examiner in Florida, and it was surprisingly tough to get answers.
I think it's my 4th or 5th email following up on this. I'm reaching out again about where your office stands on excited delirium as a cause of death. All right, hope to hear from you soon.
Let me show you my favorite response from a medical examiner. We don't usually participate in news stories directly. Good luck, though. Thanks, District 14. Seriously, though, we really didn't have good luck. A majority of Florida's medical examiners would not give us a straight answer when we asked whether they would stop using excited delirium as a cause of death. Only 3 out of Florida's 24 medical examiners told us they would review their past excited delirium cases.
Is your office done using the term excited delirium?
Yeah. Dr. Tom Coyne was one of the exceptions. He's the medical examiner for Florida's District 8. He says excited delirium is real, but he won't use it as a cause of death in the future because it's become too controversial.
By not using the term excited delirium, you're forcing the physician to think about what is the process that created that scenario. Was it drug toxicity? Was it an underlying medical disease?
These aren't people who are dying from schizoaffective disorder. These aren't people who are dying from cocaine use, from an overdose. How does excited delirium kill them?
Your heart can only beat that hard, that long until it fails. Whereas a person dies in that setting because they've reached their max point of exhaustion. And unfortunately it happens to be when they are either restrained or handcuffed or on a stretcher or being transported to the hospital.
Forensic epidemiologist Dr. Michael Freeman co-authored a 2020 study that found there is no existing evidence that indicates that excited delirium syndrome is inherently lethal in the absence of aggressive restraint.
When there's law enforcement involved and the death occurs during restraint, that's when the term excited delirium is invoked.
If somebody is having this wildly elevated heart rate, and somebody is experiencing this exhaustion that you say can lead to death, and then they're restrained, they're tasered, they're given sedatives to suddenly turn that on a dime, you're saying that doesn't make them more likely to die?
No, it's difficult, right? Because the problem here is that you have to administer treatment to these patients, but they're not in a state that is receptive for treatment. In other words, they're fighting back against you. There has been plenty of examples of restraint-associated deaths, but for the most part, in these cases, what is really dangerous is the underlying entity itself, not the restraint that is involved.
So what happens to the people left behind? Jude Saucier says she's done staying silent.
I want something done so this doesn't happen to somebody else. I have to protect him through death and life. And I always will. He's my son. You know, you don't give up on your children ever.
Thanks for watching What's Brewing. Subscribe to 10 Tampa Bay's YouTube channel and add the What's Brewing playlist to your library so you don't miss an episode. And I'll see you next time.